Hello, welcome to Heady Remarks. It's just me today. And I'm supposed to talk about the Mothman. It's a cryptid. Stuff happened in West Virginia, Point Pleasant, West Virginia, in 1967. Crap. I should have grabbed my earbuds. I don't know if I need them, but maybe if I play stuff. So, of course, there's a book called The Mothman Prophecies, written by John Keel. And he was mostly kind of into cryptozoology, ufology. UFOlogy. And he wrote the book, The Mothman Prophecies. There's a lot of weird stuff to do with Mothman that's, like, not what you would have thought. It's, like, not just about Mothman. And it's kind of almost laughably ridiculous at times. And it's hard to kind of try and fit them all into one story, which is probably why, I don't know, some people liked it, but that movie, The Mothman Prophecies, kind of sucked because it just didn't really, the story itself doesn't really weave together well. It's just odd. I don't know. So anyway, he has a website, John Keel. He's dead now, but let me see. I already pulled up a bunch of websites. Yeah, it starts out talking about this guy, Cornstalk, who was like living, because West Virginia and Ohio, right? It's, I guess there was this, some people were saying maybe it was a curse from this guy, Cornstalk. He was a prominent Shawnee leader in the Ohio country in the 1760s and 1770s. It says his name in the Shawnee language was Hokolesqua. But anyway, supposedly Native Americans didn't really settle. They didn't actually live in West Virginia. Everywhere else was sort of taken. I mean, they lived there and they would hunt in West Virginia, but they didn't really, I think supposedly they thought it was cursed. You know, it's weird because, I mean, it's a beautiful, it looks pretty. I don't know. It has, you know, whatever you might need, but they were like living all over the place except for there. Supposedly, that's what the Mothman Prophecies book said. So, John Keel said that. In 1763, he reportedly led a raid against British American colonists in Pontiac's War. When the British American colonies began expanding into the Ohio country, Cornstalk played a major part in defense of the Shawnee homeland. He was the primary Shawnee war chief in Lord Dunmore's War, 1774, leading Shawnees and other Native warriors against colonists in the Battle of Point Pleasant. Yeah, the Battle of Point Pleasant. Exactly. Also known as the Battle of Kanawha. It was the only major action of Dunmore's War. October 10th, 1774, between the Virginia militia and Shawnee and Mingo warriors along the Ohio River near modern-day Point Pleasant, West Virginia. It says, forces under the Shawnee chief Cornstalk attacked Virginia militiamen under Colonel Andrew Lewis, hoping to halt Lewis's advance into the Ohio Valley. After a long and furious battle, Cornstalk retreated. After the battle, the Virginians, along with a second force led by Lord Dunmore, the royal governor of Virginia, marched into the Ohio Valley and compelled Cornstalk to agree to a treaty. Yeah, so there was a treaty, and it was settled. Like, they weren't, Yeah, they were, I don't know, because he ended up getting killed because he came into town, and I forget, I've got it in my notes. He came into town, and while he was there, some unrelated incident happened where like some sort of Native American, I guess, killed one of the settlers, and then Cornstalk got assassinated because of that. So, I don't know. It's kind of weird. So I don't know if he like literally is supposed to have cursed it, or if they just are supposing that he cursed it because of that. So Native Americans have a thing called thunderbirds. They are giant birds. It says thunderbirds are giant birds, but thunder beings are part bird, part human. Okay, well, I guess Mothman's a thunder being in that case, because he's not full bird. Harbinger of death. Yeah, he might be a harbinger of death. Supposedly, Point Pleasant, West Virginia. I already said that. Maybe I should pull up the Mothman Wikipedia for a quick. Where is it? Click it. Or I guess I'll copy and paste it. So it's like this thing that it started out. There were a lot of UFO sightings in this town as well. They talk about it like Mothman started first, but I think that there were UFO sightings going on before that. And so in West Virginia folklore, the Mothman is a humanoid creature reportedly seen in the Point Pleasant area from November 15th, 1966 to December 15th, 1967. The first newspaper report was published in the Point Pleasant Register, dated November 16th, 1966, titled "Couples See Man-Sized Bird Creature." Something? I wonder if that was written by Mary Hyre, because Mary Hyre is like a very prominent person in this. She's the one who wrote the articles. She was a local, I guess, and she would write the articles about what people were reporting seeing, and they trusted her and liked her, and she was sort of like the person to go to if you needed to get something off your chest about something weird you saw. And she was respectful, and she was respected, and people liked her, and she was well liked. I don't know. Gray Barker, an American writer best known for his books about UFOs and other paranormal phenomena. His 1956 book, They Knew Too Much About Flying Saucers, introduced the notion of men in black to UFO folklore. Yes, there are men in black in this. Yay! Hello! So, okay, that's it. It says Mothman was introduced to a wider audience by Gray Barker in 1970. Okay, later popularized by John Keel in his 1975 book, The Mothman Prophecies, claiming that there were supernatural events related to the sightings and a connection to the collapse of the Silver Bridge. The book was later adapted into a 2002 film starring Richard Gere, which, yeah, some people think it's scary. I thought it was a little stupid and like disjointed, and I don't know, but creepy, yeah. I don't know. Maybe I need to watch it again. There's an annual festival in Point Pleasant that's devoted to the Mothman legend. Anyway, okay, maybe I'll go back to my notes. From November 15th, 1966 to December 15th, 1967. So it's like exactly 13 months it lasted. I don't know. So November 15th, 1966, two young married couples, Roger and Linda Scarberry, driving a 57 Chevy Bel Air, spotted, it says, as they went, because they're together, they're like joyriding out, driving around in their fancy cars. I think this 57 Chevy Bel Air was like really fancy, and he loved his car and stuff. But anyway, so they're out there cruising around. They went past the North Power Plant, saw what looked like a 7-foot man standing in the road with wings folded against its back. They say it ran toward the power plant as they got closer, running in an awkward manner. It hobbled. So I thought that was kind of funny. But I think she is the one, the Linda Scarberry, who she described muscly legs. It's weird. Like, they describe everything about Mothman pretty good, pretty detailed, but not so much the face. Your eyes are drawn to the eyes of Mothman because they are glowing red, and there's debate over whether they're actually emitting light, glowing, or if it's a reflective situation that's just really bright with your headlights flashing on it or whatever. But okay, so it's running in an awkward manner with its muscly legs. Later, they saw it again standing by a billboard. I'm trying to get specifically the, like, what exactly they were doing. I've heard it's a lot of the stories that I was trying to get straight in my head have multiple versions of their stories. You know, it's like I'll tell the different versions as I do it. But I just today heard it where they said that they saw it, they drove off, they saw it running in an awkward manner, and then they actually turned around and went looking for it again. But in other stories, it's like they were so terrified that they ran immediately to the, because they do end up going to the, sheriff's office or whatever, to the police. Squatch says some birds are good at running, but predatory birds aren't very good at it. Well then, that's interesting. At some point, they also mention, that means he's a predatory bird, I guess. At one point, they mentioned seeing a dead dog on the side of the road, and that ties into the story because there's this guy who has a dog. Did they ever describe what kind of dog? I don't know. I think they said it was big because he had a, his name's Bandit. Control F, Bandit. German Shepherd. Is a large pet dog. Anyway, that comes later. Anyway, so the two couples, Steve and Mary Mallet, are the other couple. Two married couples. Okay, so wait, back to Roger and Linda, though. So I don't know if they are claiming to have gone back in this version of the story, but they see it running in an awkward manner. Later, they saw it again standing by a billboard. See, that's kind of creepy. It would make sense that they turned around and went back, unless it flew really fast past them in the direction they were going without being seen somehow, and just it's like hanging out by a billboard. That's creepy as hell either way. It goes straight up and over the top of their car. I've heard it described like a helicopter. I'm like, just because it goes straight up, I guess. Ascends. Spreads its wings and ascends. I don't think anyone's ever described it as flapping its wings. In fact, they've said that it was not flapping its wings anytime they saw it. Okay, so they were scared at this point because it was like chasing their car and following the car. They could see it in the rear windshield. It goes straight up and over the top of their car. They're doing 90 to 95 miles per hour down a straight stretch. I've also heard some people say they went over 100. And it's keeping up. Chases them all the way to the city limits. They went straight to the sheriff's department and sat down and explained what they'd experienced. I don't know. There's one lady who said she went home first. Maybe it was Mary Mallet, because like I said, there's two couples. The story is just, it's insane. It's hard to go in any order. Hold on. So I'm going to go to this. What is this? Mary Hyer's newspaper. What's it called? It's called Where the Waters Mingle. Where the Waters Mingle. She wrote a bunch of articles as described to her by, Squatch says there was a mine, Silver, in Germany where people reported seeing an owl man before a fatal accident occurred there. Probably same type of entity. I can dig it. I was speaking with a friend this weekend who described 3 different incidents of seeing owls before fate struck in an unfavorable manner. Here's a list of all the, what is this? Oh, Silver Bridge, yeah. So this ends with a bridge collapsing and people dying. So that's supposed to be perhaps the tragic incident that this could have been a harbinger for. I'm going to go back to my notes. Well, yeah, okay. There's a guy named Woodrow Derenberger, okay? This is so hard. He's driving along the road. He's this guy who meets a person named Ingrid Cold, also known as the Grinning Man. Okay, just let me show a picture. First of all, this is a picture supposedly taken in 2016. The guy didn't want to be identified who took the photo. He just shared it, said he snapped this photo. The legs are big, long. That is, I don't know. Could totally be BS. People love doing BS, but okay, maybe just look at that for, oh, you can't. Hold on. I'll put this over here. Anyway, back to Woodrow Derenberger. He's driving along the road and he says this guy like made him pull over by like, he says cars are going past him and then this thing gets in the lane and makes him pull over and gets out of the car. It's like broad daylight, walks over to his driver's side, not the driver's side, it's the passenger side window. And he could hear him asking him / telling him, he doesn't really clarify. We'll watch some of the interview. It's on audio, I guess. But he did an interview. Woodrow Derenberger tells him to roll down his window and looks at the guy as he continues talking to him, telling him not to be afraid and they mean him no harm. And his like mouth is not moving. He's just smiling the whole time. He said that was the most alarming part of the interaction because like this cigar-shaped charcoal gray ship, whatever, like blocks his way, but enough room on the road still that cars are driving by, according to him during this story. And I guess a couple people claim they did see him on the side of the road. And it's weird because it's like, hey, what's this got to do with Mothman? But it's like weird shit going on right around the same time. Do I have the date? Hold on. So these notes are kind of crappy. Ingrid Cold. Where is that? Okay, there's just a little drawing. An allegedly humanoid entity, his name comes from his tendency to smile at those who encounter him. It's said that he still visits West Virginia to this day. A reflective green suit with a black belt. He had a dark complexion and small beady eyes set far apart. I kept hearing olive-skinned in describing these MIBs or whatever. I don't know what the hell this guy is. It's just another weird story going on simultaneously with the Mothman sightings. What was the date? Did he ever? Okay, so October 16th, 1966 is the date that Woodrow Derenberger claims he met Ingrid Cold, and he's talking to him and he's telling him not to be afraid. Before he walked away back to his ship, he said that we'll be seeing you again or something like that. But yeah, just the creepiness of the fact that he was telepathically communicating with him and not moving his mouth. But he always says he was very friendly. And good evening. Did you see the movie? I did. Long time ago, and then I like tried to rewatch it somewhat recently and kind of fell asleep, and I had just like rented it, and so I don't know, I feel like I need to try to watch it again. I watched like a review today of a guy who was talking about it in a good way, saying it was creepy, and I'm like, maybe I just remember it's just like the story, like I was saying, it's like I can't remember if Ingrid Cold is in the movie. But anyway, hold on. First, hold on. 2 boys. This is not Derenberger's account. That was the wrong date. They're saying they saw this bald man wearing a metal green suit who was staring straight at them. Okay, well, Ingrid Cold was not bald. He had like black hair, I think. Hold on. Where's the... Okay, here's the Derenberger one. Sorry. So November 12th, 1966. I should have put that here. Anyway, November 2nd, 1966. Oh, what the heck? I said 12. Being dumb, sorry. Parkersburg, West Virginia, around the same area and time as the Mothman came about. Hold on. What was it? It was November 15th. See, this was before that. November 2nd, and this is November 15th. So this was before Mothman. Anyway, Woodrow Derenberger was driving his way home on Interstate 77, which is, I don't know, it's just notable that number pops up a lot in stories. Maybe not. Maybe it means nothing. Until he heard a crash. Then an unidentified vehicle appeared to land in front of his truck. That sounds different than how he described it as an old-fashioned kerosene lamp chimney flaring at both ends, narrowing down to a small neck, and then enlarging in a great bulge in the center. The grinning man came out of the vehicle with it sounds like a blunt, or no, it sounds like a doobie, kind of, like a rolled cigarette. See you in time. Yeah, he's in the movie, but only as a distorted human shape. Okay. See you in time. I remember that. It's such a weird thing to say. I like it, though. It's kind of weird. Grinning man came out of the vehicle with a dark tan and walked up to Derenberger and telepathically said his name was Ingrid Cold and he meant no harm. Cold said he just wanted to know more about the human race and he would visit Derenberger again. Oh, yeah. He told him that they called their cities gatherings. He's just like friendly, sharing. Here's an artist of a drawing. During the same period in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, the Lilly family had been reporting that poltergeist activity in their home, such as diamond-shaped lights. The Lily's daughter, Linda, was sleeping one night and awoke to see a man standing over her. It was a man, a big man, very broad. I couldn't see his face very well, but I could see that he was grinning at me. He walked around the bed and stood right over me. I screamed, okay, well. Anyway, yeah, he said he came, according to this guy, Derenberger, Ingrid Cold said that he came from Lanulos. What? Supposed image of Ingrid Cold? Are you serious? Whatever. That's a human, and he's not smiling. What is this? I'm all mad. Oh. I should play this. Hold on. Well, I do already have this pulled up somewhere, I think, but...
I would like to introduce and to be very plain, a lot of know-how. Mr. Derenberger, in your own words, would you please relate what happened last night?
Well, I am a salesman, and I drive a truck, and last night, shortly after 7 o'clock, I was coming from Marietta, Ohio, coming down Interstate 77. And just before I came to the intersection of...
What's on your shirt?
It's
John Lennon.
There was a car.
I like John Lennon.
Taking me from behind. And following closely behind this car was this...
Mother, you left me. Sorry, this kind of...
unidentified flying object. And as the car ahead, or the car behind...
Sorry, the lyrics are, Mother, you had me. But I never had you. I wanted you.
Behind past me, this object was following close behind it, and it swerved directly in front of my truck.
See, that's different. It says it swerved in front of his truck. That's different from what I just read about it crashing from above or whatever it was. I don't know.
And when it turned crosswise, it slowed down. It started slowing not abruptly or too fast, but it gave me plenty of time to step on my brakes and slow down with it. But it forced me to come to a complete stop.
Yeah, I like that song
As
as
soon as I
well.
had stopped, there was a door opened in the side of this vehicle, and this man stepped out and came directly to me, or came to the truck. He walked to the right-hand side of the truck, and he told me to roll down the
Right-hand
window.
side.
He asked me to roll down the window.
He just said it. He goes, he told me, he asked me. He like says it both ways as if he's not sure. But yeah, I've seen drawings or reenactments where he's on the driver's side window, but
Window on my right-hand side of my truck. And I had done what he asked. And this man stood there, and he first asked me what I was called. And I knew he meant my name, and I told him my name.
that's a British way to ask that question. What are you called? America, I mean, I think, right? American way is, what's your name?
And he asked
¿Cómo te llamas? What are you called?
me, he said, why are you frightened? He said, don't be frightened, we wish you no harm. He said, we mean you no harm, we wish you only happiness. And I told him my name, and when I told him my name, he said he was called Cold. That was the name that
Cold.
he was called by. And he asked me what the city of Parkersburg, he pointed to the lights. He didn't point, but he gave the impression that he was pointing, and he asked me what that was called. And I told him it was Parkersburg. It was a city, a town. And he asked me if all the people lived in this city or town.
Maybe
And
he
I
meant
explained to him that it was a place of business.
I wish there wasn't a delay. I already forgot what I was talking about.
That the people lived in communities, outlying communities, most of the people. And when I told him that this was a city, he said that where his home was, that was called a gathering.
It's a gathering.
And again, he told me not to be frightened, which I was. I was very frightened. And as far as I can understand, this was all mental. There was no spoken words from him. I knew what he was asking me, but yet he stood there and his mouth did not move.
They talk about this in this interview saying last night. So presumably this is the next day. Although later I hear his daughter talking about it with some person who says it was a few days later, and she's like, or it was the next week, and she's like, it was just a couple days later. So again, with the inconsistent whatever, but
he had a smile on his face. He appeared very courteous and friendly. And after I talked with him a while, he told me he would see me. He said, we will see you again, and he
in
left
time.
In his vehicle.
Now, Mr. Dernberger, for the sake of our television audience here, the words that you used, cold would be like cold is his name. This is how it
what
sounded
the
to you, that his
inhabitants
name was
call
Cold.
themselves. Oh,
And the
maybe.
word gathering
He's like trying
was
to
like we would know together or something like
taking
that.
notes.
Yes, that's
Maybe
what
he's just a
he
nerd.
meant. That was the impression that he gave.
And he did not move his lips nor utter any sound whatsoever. He talked with you in telepathy then.
That was right. That his lips did not move. He uttered no words at all.
But you talked. I mean, he didn't.
Yes, I talked. He told me twice that I could either talk or I could think, which either would be better or easier for me.
This was an instant.
So he could have
This
thought
wasn't-
his
there was
responses,
no hesitation on his part nor on your
or
part.
just-
You knew immediately what
but
he
he
was
spoke apparently.
communicating to you,
would be
and he knew
normal.
immediately what you were communicating to him.
That is right.
What did this object? What color was this object?
This object was between a real dark gray and black. I would call it a charcoal color. It glistened.
And he saw, as Ingrid Cold went back into the ship, a second entity reach out and close the door behind him as he entered back into the vessel.
In my headlights. When
Yeah,
it
he's just a
stopped
nerd.
me,
No,
my
not you.
headlights were
I was talking about
shining
Ingrid
directly on
Cold. Maybe he's just a nerd.
it.
You know, he's like,
Were there lights in
taking
it?
notes. He's like,
No, I
oh.
see no lights of any
like a
kind. There was
tourist.
no lights in it.
There
So
were
what
windows.
do you call these
If there was
things?
windows, I couldn't detect them. I couldn't see them.
And when
No
the
windows
door,
that he could see.
You had a very clear view from behind the wheel of your van, the driver's seat of your van.
Yes.
He came forward toward you. Did he tell you?
It's just
did
the
he
fact that
communicate
this
to you
was-
to roll your window
I have
down
no idea what to
before he
make of
got
it.
to the side of your truck? Was he still in your headlights when he communicated?
He was still in my headlights, walking in a kind of a diagonal way across my headlights to the right-hand side of my truck when he told me then to roll down, if I would please roll down the window on the right-hand side of my truck.
Now, in the beginning, you were driving south on 77
Correct.
from Marietta
Yes.
toward Mineral Wells.
Yes.
Okay, I'm just gonna pause
Car
for a
pack.
minute. Go back to my notes for a minute. I don't know. I like to skip around, but I'll keep that where it's at, and we can continue. Maybe it's just that it's like already been 31 minutes, and I'm like hardly even talking about Mothman. Okay, so Connie, shaped like a man but much larger. This is another person who saw at least 7 feet tall and very broad, large, round, fiercely glowing red eyes that focused on her with hypnotic effect. Connie. I wish I got more info on that. 10-foot wingspan, unfold from his back, rose off the ground straight up like a helicopter silently. Mary Hyre died in 1970, but was a good go-to source for info about the town and all things going on. Where is that? This is her. This has got like her articles. The Athens Messenger. It seems that West Virginia is seeing its share of strange objects. The latest was by Tad Jones. This is January 22nd. Oh, so this is way earlier. Wait, no. This is later in the year. After. Yeah, so it goes, yeah. Started in 66. But, unidentified flying object. I don't know. January 29th, 1967. Is this after the bridge collapse? Yeah, because the bridge collapse happened right before Christmas. December 15th. Exactly 13 months later. I don't know. I thought I'd go to something to do with her because it just mentioned her. Where is it? Oh, famed Mothman witness dies. She died kind of young. She died at age like 50 something, like 54 or 52. Wait a minute. No, this is Marcella Bennett. That's a different Mothman witness. I was looking for Mary Hyre. I don't know. Okay, I'm sorry. Website with Mary Hyre's. Okay, I already pulled that up. Over 100 people see Mothman over that summer. Yeah, because it's okay. It's over a year later. Sorry. Question. I just want you to make sure I'm not asking too many questions. I want to be annoying, but like to be engaging is all. I like the engagement. Let's keep the engagement. Just kidding. But I do get distracted easily, but that's not anybody's fault but mine. But I can always just like ignore it and then talk about it. What comments later? Okay, so they're getting conjunctivitis. People who saw Mothman supposedly got conjunctivitis. Their eyes are affected by, I guess, the red glowing eyes. I need to talk about the TNT area. So this area is like where they were storing and manufacturing, I think, munitions, ammo, and TNT. I've got the notes on it later. I don't know. This is from the book, so my notes are just from the book a little bit here. There's weirdos visiting people, asking questions about Mary Hyre, asking if she would stop talking about Mothman, And they're weird, like they don't understand like simple normal human things. There's one that tries to drink Jello like he doesn't know what Jello is or how to eat it. He's like, I don't know, Richard French. There's Men in Black going around. After the articles about Mothman started coming out, there's like people supposedly trying to intimidate people out of talking about Mothman. But I don't know. Sometimes they were scary, like actually trying to get someone into their car. But a lot of other times they were just weird, which was making me laugh, actually, while I was listening to it. And Squatch says, was Mothman something physical or just a phantasm? Any physical evidence? Well, honestly, that photo thing looks physical to me, if we're just going off that, but I don't know. One was maybe named Richard French. I don't know. I like listen to these audiobooks while I'm working, so I like have to just sort of quickly take notes and stuff. I mean, not always. I mostly work. I'm not trying to get myself in trouble, but collecting. Oh yeah, they would like steal things from the witnesses, collect as if they're collecting souvenirs. Mystery men and women, huh? Dusty skin, unusually long fingers, trying to impersonate military or whatever, but not knowing the jargon. Dresses out of style, or their medals are on the wrong spot. That kind of thing. Was this close to Roswell time? This is 1966 to 67, so that was in the 50s, right? I mean, kind of. And that's in New Mexico, but trying to impersonate military. There's another guy named Tom talking about Lanulos and some entity alien dude named Vega. These are my notes, ladies and gentlemen. Silver Bridge. The Silver Bridge. This is ridiculous. We need a better photo. That's not going to do. That's not going to do at all. It was new when it was built. Not images. Silver Bridge. Remembering the anniversary of Silver Bridge collapse. Creepy. What is it? Was aluminum, but they called it the Silver Bridge. Is that after? So this is a sepia photo of the Silver Bridge. This must be after the collapse here. So it was deep enough, that water, that the cars were like disappearing. It was nighttime. God, I'm so bad at sticking to like a format of how to tell the story. I don't know. It's fine. This happens December 15th, 1967, 13 months after the first Mothman sighting. Meanwhile, there's weirdos going around telling people not to talk about it. Mary Hyers writing books. John Kill, I don't know. He wrote the other book. He wrote the most famous book, I guess, about it. Anyway, that's the Silver Bridge. It collapses just after 5 p.m., December 15th, 1967, but I believe it was already dark because it's wintertime. Bridge connects Ohio to West Virginia. 31 cars and trucks plunge into the Ohio River. 64 people go into the water. 46 died. An eye bar broke. And I think it was like 1/8 of an inch of a thing that caused the entire collapse that couldn't really have been spotted with the inspection. Hello, I'm a doctor of bridges. I can tell you one thing. They need all the support they can get. That's a good one. Sounds fringy. Yeah, it really does remind me of Fringe. Like, yeah, I kept thinking of that show because they've got their little bald Men in Black people. Okay, so then I watched a documentary called Eyes of the Mothman. And yeah, it starts talking about Shawnee in Ohio fighting with settlers in West Virginia near Point Pleasant. It's talking about a Shawnee named Cornstalk who died 1727 to 1777. Maybe I can stop sharing my notes for a second. Okay, McClintock Wildlife Preserve. It's a sanctuary for wild and exotic birds, incidentally. During World War II, Mason County, West Virginia, lent a hand to U.S. military, donating several thousand acres to store explosives, TNT, just off Route 62 in Point Pleasant. There were small bunkers known as igloos placed in the earth so as to be hidden from planes, I presume, above. The locals kind of referred to this area as the TNT area. Stores live ammunition and weapons. They are secured and sealed. Wartime supplies, TNT, and the chemicals used to manufacture the TNT, which was highly toxic. The Silver Bridge fell because they hired a dentist. He did really cheap bridge work. That's good. Yes. So, actually, supposedly the very first Mothman sighting was this one, 85 miles away from Point Pleasant in Clendenin, West Virginia. 5 men are digging a grave, led by the lead grave digger, Kenneth Duncan, and they're burying Kenneth Duncan's brother-in-law, who recently died, at a small cemetery. They hear a rustling, then observe a flying man who soared in the sky directly above them. I also heard that he flew directly at them and then over them. So the following night, Salem, West Virginia, Merle Partridge. This is the guy with the dog. He's watching TV. Loud noise outside about 11 p.m. I think he also said his TV was like going all crazy. He has a large pet dog, German Shepherd, named Bandit. The TV starts making a whining, high-pitched sound, then explodes. Yeah, I don't know if he meant exploded with sound. So that's why I put a question mark. Dog outside barking. He grabs his 8mm Mauser and goes onto the porch. His dog takes off running, I guess when you open the door or something. Barking and running. I think he like went off like behind the house or something. He sees, or maybe it's in the field behind the house. Anyway, he sees red, rotating, flashing lights, intermittent, going around. Says it wasn't aircraft. He was in the Air Force and knows. And again, we're talking about Merle Partridge. Then it's gone, and so is his dog. Did I say it wrong? 8mm Mauser? I don't know. I just got these from the documentary. I don't know if I'm like naming guns that don't exist or something. But so the dog is gone. A couple days later, he's swimming with the family at the swimming pool, wife, kids. Then the sky blacks out and mechanical thing above them, dull gray finish on it, and a lot of portholes and rivets. Okay, Merle. So I guess he says he saw a UFO a little bit later. And before that, yeah, he doesn't really describe seeing Mothman. He just talks about red lights rotating and flashing. Okay, and then it was 2 days later, 11 p.m. That's when we get the two couples who are out joyriding, November 15th, 1966. Two couples, Linda and Roger Scarberry, and Steve and Mary Mallet, traveling the desolate road near the TNT plant. Linda says she saw a man in the road at first, then realizes it was almost an angel-like appearance. Man/bird creature. Face of a bird? Humanoid features. Why did I put a question mark there? Probably because I never heard, I don't know. Broad shoulders, wrinkled up face like a man without feathers. Large red eyes, body like human. It's insane. I feel bad for old kings and queens when it rains. Their bridges didn't have remote controls. Oh, goodness gracious. Took off 100 miles per hour plus down the road. See, that's why the story details change a little bit. Yeah, I must have been confused here because I put somehow they see it again standing by the billboard on Route 62. Well, it chased them. Supposedly they heard it atop their car, and supposedly that car, that fancy 57 Chevy, got scratched on the top of it. Anyway, it takes off. Somehow they see it again standing by a billboard. It takes off straight up like a helicopter and is chasing them again. Driver of car notices a dead dog on the side of the road. Merle thinks this was his dog. He says his dog would have come when he called. And yeah, I don't know. In one of the versions, like I mentioned earlier, they say that they went back and the dog was gone. Anyway, they did go back again, regardless of if they returned once before they went to the cops, but they did return nonetheless with the sheriffs. And supposedly the sheriff was experiencing some sort of strange radio disturbances in the radio signals for the deputies. Okay, sorry. So the police believed the couples because they appeared truly terrified, genuinely terrified. Each wrote individual police reports. I was hoping I could find those. Genuine fear. Deputies went out there again with the couples to the TNT area. Yeah, and then I forgot his name. It might have been Hoffman. Disturbances in the radio signals for the deputies, similar to Merle's TV issues. Roger loved his car. Beautiful hot rod, which supposedly had scratches on the roof. Witness Faye Laporte. Eyewitness 1966 says he has a nose, round with nostrils in it, doesn't remember a mouth because your attention goes to the eyes. Where's Fallon? Fallon's children have hives. So she's taking care of them with that. Has there been any sightings since? Yes, there have, in Chicago, 2017. And I remember hearing about that at the time. I'll go into that a little bit. Oh man, I'm running out of time. She says he has a nose, round with nostrils in it, doesn't remember a mouth. 4 more people spot it, 2 adults and 2 children flying in the TNT area. But he was flying, not them. Sightings increase, totaling into the hundreds. Squealed, glided after cars. Again, see, they say glided because he's not flapping. And feasted on small animals. All agreed on the bright eyes. Sometimes they insist they were glowing. Some say not glowing, more reflective. Doesn't flap wings, just opens wings and ascends. Shows a picture of Thoth. Yeah, it showed a picture of Thoth at that point in the thing I was watching. Months pass, sightings continue, hunters going out there to find it, shoot it, tromp the bush, flush the bird out so they can at least see it. Maybe shoot it. Cornstalk curse, couples going out to TNT area instead of going to the movies, hoping to spot the thing. Angel, devil, spiritual encounter, harbinger of doom. Why do you restrict your time to 1 hour? I don't have to, I guess. But I can ramble and lose track of time. So, I mean, yeah. I mean, the last long episode I did was the JFK RFK thing, and I don't know if this is why, but it will not upload to BitChute, and I've tried like multiple times, and I don't know. I was thinking maybe it's because of the length of it. I don't know why that would matter, though. I see long videos on there all the time. Someone tried to copy strike me for showing the clip of Lee Harvey Oswald getting shot, and I'm like, you don't own that. I'm pretty sure you don't own that. My car has scratches on the top. Well, you know what that means immediately for sure. Just kidding. Scotch-Irish heritage in this area. It goes into, the people in this area. They believe in something in Ireland, I guess, called banshees. Spiritual being that ran screaming across the sky. Banshee was a token that something bad was going to happen. Merle says, a crane doesn't pick up no 100-pound dog. That must have been a quote. Sandhill crane. Let's look at a picture of a sandhill crane, perhaps, real quick here. I'm also going to type Mothman so that I can maybe find an image of the two side by side. Yeah. Let's just talk about that a little bit. I'm sorry, but I don't think so. Yeah, they have a little bit of red around their eyes. Not quite the same as glowing bicycle reflector eyes, circular, hypnotizing. burning you and giving you sunburns. People said they were burnt after witnessing or seeing Mothman. Like I mentioned, there's the red eyes, that like conjunctivitis, like basically severe pink eye. Hard for to deep dive into topics with audience interaction, I feel. Not really. Sometimes they remind me of stuff I forgot, and then I'm like glad. Or whatever. I don't know. Or if I'm like running out of stuff to talk about. I don't know. But yeah. As Merle said, I don't think these are picking up no 100-pound dog. Snowy owl shot nearby in a barn had a wingspan of 5.5 feet. Guy who studied anthropology says birds of prey do exist who actively hunt monkeys or attack human babies. But Guy says people in this area hunt and know what animals are, and it's insulting to tell them. It's insulting to them to be told this was an owl. That's a good point. These people are like, excuse me, we know the creatures in this area. We're hunters. We're like not retards. Oh, whatever. We're not stupid. And you're insulting us by saying that, you know, I don't know. There's the whole thing with the small town and people like treating people in small towns like they're stupid a little bit, you know, like, I don't know. But some of these stories are so weird that, as Squatch mentioned earlier this week, maybe they were drugged, because there's like crazy shit going on in this town that they sometimes sound like they're on drugs. Here it mentioned trauma and the aftermath. It's a little serious here. There's people who, you know, had Mothman sightings after they were stressed, distraught, mental anguish, sleeplessness, scared. Many of them moved. Eyes swelled up pink after looking in its eyes. Conjunctivitis caused by radiation. Sunburns. Radiation burns. Eyes swollen shut. Parts of their bodies burnt. Show pics of... Oh, and then the documentary showed pictures of a guy with burns on his forearms, but in like a reenactment style way. So whippoorwills have intense red eye shine, not very big though. Whippoorwills. There goes. Whippoorwills. Well, they look black when they're not. They just look like black. That's a little. Ah, yes, I see. Hold on. Whippoorwill. Yeah, I mean, my cat has that, you know. Sorry, it looks like a Terminator. Okay, anyway, November 16th, 1966. So this is the next day after those two couples on their little incident. There's a press conference taking place at the Point Pleasant County Courthouse where the two couples are telling their story to the press and answering questions. I think that's also where Mary Hyer's office was at the courthouse. Meanwhile, here's the Marcella Bennett story. So, oh yeah, and then that was the news story when she died, which has... So this is this other lady. It's just annoying when there's multiple versions of the same story. Because at first you hear it like, it's either way, it's kind of creepy. But so let me just read this part. This August would have seen Marcella Bennett's 70th birthday, but instead, word has reached me that one of the most dignified of the early Mothman witnesses has passed away. Interviewers often felt they were talking to someone born of British nobility when Bennett would tell her story, although she was a woman of Appalachian roots. She was a grounded and refined eyewitness who was thrust into the limelight by Mothman. Marcella S. Bennett, 69, of Gallipolis, Ohio, died Sunday, March 1st, 2009, at Holzer Medical Center in I'm probably saying it wrong, Gallipolis. She was born August 19, 1939. It's a graveside service. But anyway, it goes into that. Bennett was the focus of the often repeated Mothman incident of November 16th, 1966. So, yeah, this is the next day after the couples. This is frequently called the second sighting of Mothman, with the Scarberry and Mallet sighting the night before being called the first, even though today we know there were earlier encounters. Yeah. November 16, 1966. Rumors circulated that several armed local residents combed the area around the TNT plant for signs of Mothman. Then at about 9 p.m. on November 16, 1966, Raymond Wamsley, 19, his wife Kathy Wamsley, 18, and Marcella Bennett, 21, carrying her infant daughter Tina, sometimes written as, who cares, also, along with other family members, were finished visiting. Okay, so I've heard the version where this happened as they were arriving, and for some reason, I got the impression at one point that she was alone and not with her family, but whatever. And sometimes they say it happened as they were leaving the Thomas residence, but whatever. It says here, along with other family members, were finished visiting the Ralph Thomas family and returning to their car. Mr. and Mrs. Ralph Thomas lived in a bungalow among the igloos, concrete dome-shaped dynamite storage structures erected during World War II near the TNT plant. The igloos were now empty, some owned by the county, others by companies intending to use them for storage. It was when the Wamsley Bennetts were leaving that they disturbed something on the Thomas property along White Church Road. It was lying prone upon the ground. Anyway, and it just gets up off the ground. Hold on, what's going on? Timmy the Genius says, looks like it might be a suit that the visitors were wearing to protect them from our atmosphere, and the wing-like things were for travel. You know? Maybe. It does almost kind of resemble, like, the goggles and, like, like an aviator? It kind of almost looks aviator-ish to me, like someone flying a plane. I think, yeah. I think Spring-Heeled Jack might have been one of these creatures as well. I've never heard of that, but that sounds interesting. And there's also the Flatwoods Monster, which was the 50s, same area as Mothman, I think. West Virginia, anyway. So they... returning to their car... They disturbed something on the Thomas property along White Church Road. The figure appeared behind their parked vehicle and reportedly, in some accounts, then went on the Thomas's porch and roof. It rose up slowly from the ground, a big gray thing, bigger than a man, with terrible glowing red eyes, reported Marcella Bennett, who screamed and, panic-stricken, dropped her baby and fell to the ground in shock. The incident is famous for the fact that when Bennett saw it, she was so startled she fell on her baby. It's kind of weird. It's like drop and fall on. I mean, I hope she dropped her on the grass. Bennett's remark about Mothman's terrible glowing red eyes is a frequently quoted description. As the thing unfurled its huge wings, Raymond Wamsley snatched up the child and herded the witnesses back to the safety of the house, where they were let in by Ricky Thomas, 15, and sisters Connie and Vicky. Oh, Connie! That must be the Connie from earlier. Okay. Yeah, when she was, yeah. While Wamsley went to phone the police, the creature seemed to have shuffled along behind the group, coming onto the porch and peering in at them through the window. He's like, rude. The unknown bird-like animal vanished by the time the police arrived. So that's just a weird one, and she was terrified. Marcella Bennett was so traumatized that she eventually sought medical attention. They honestly shared their encounter to local authorities and news people as they wished to warn others. After the sighting, and then after the turn of the 21st century, the growing fame of the Mothman incidents had researchers rediscovering Marcella Bennett. And then it just talks about how she was visited by tragedy. I don't know. She had a daughter that died and stuff. But, okay, back to my notes. Mrs. Bennett, visiting a friend near them igloos, Route 62, sees slow... Oh, yeah, okay. So, yeah, sometimes you just get extra details. This is back to my notes from the documentary I watched, Eyes of the Mothman. Upon inspection of the area, the visitors found the flaws of the bridge while researching all things in the area. They felt the need to warn us of the pending doom of the bridge. Perhaps. Yeah, because they were supposedly sighted climbing up and down on the bridge, walking around. Yeah. So, upon exiting her... Okay, see, this is the different version. Upon exiting her vehicle, pulls up to the house and awakens something. Seemed to be sleeping. Animal? Red eyes. Man dressed in khaki clothes? Huh. Notices feet and feathers, and she dropped her baby Tina, but it was fine at some point. Was laying on the baby... Very terrified, grabs baby, runs to the house. Thing is on the porch peering in through the windows. Appears curious and persistent, not necessarily aggressive. Called the cops, the deputies arrive, and there's no sign of it. Excerpt from news article about her death. Okay, I already read that, though. Okay, so now we're going to November 25th, 1966. There's a shoe store manager driving just north of Point Pleasant. Helicopter? No. Bird. Brown in color. And at least 6 feet in length. Close to 100 miles per hour as it is pursued by the bird for nearly a full mile. These are just the different sightings. November 26th, there's a woman at home waiting for her husband. She looks outside and sees Mothman. Next night, 13-year-old child, same thing. Similar story, just looking outside, seeing it like in the yard. Many are able to describe him well, except for the face. November 27th, massive winged creature pursues woman leaving church on her way home while in her vehicle. December 4th, men see bird. 5 pilots witness a massive bird not flapping its wings, going 75 miles per hour, wings in a still position. I think they were actually flying when they saw this, supposedly. Sounds like they were trying to communicate observe us, and warn us. Yeah, observe, communicate, warn. Still Mary Hyer's pen. Like, stare at her pen like it's a fascinating object. I think I've got notes on that later. But yeah, supposedly one of them visited Mary Hyer, the reporter lady. Okay, so mutated bird is a theory. There were mutagenic effects on the fish there. Mutated sandhill crane? Chemical exposure? I mean, maybe a mutated one I could, if I'm trying to be Scully-ish and not just immediately believe stuff. Okay, so 1988, there's supposedly a pterosaur that flew up and then died right in front of people. West Virginia, 1988, prehistoric animal. I guess at this point they were just talking about other weird things. 1990s, in the desert, shoot a giant bird. I don't know. These notes are... yeah, stories about prehistoric birds supposedly not dead that should have been dead. These are my notes. And then it started talking about New Jersey, the Jersey Devil, which is supposed to be like a collie dog head on a long neck with black wings and stands on 2 legs. I need to do more on cryptids. There's like a whole bunch of shuffling sounds like someone trying to walk in heavy protective suits, perhaps. Okay, UFO activity during the whole year. Way more rampant, all up and down the Ohio Valley. Clusters of odd lights hovering in the skies above. Credible townspeople saying they came in contact with actual aircraft. Store owner on his way to work notices something on the road, exits his car because the road is blocked by cigar-shaped thing hovering 4 feet above the roadway. So this is a different guy telling a similar story. Metallic craft of some kind. Because, yeah, Derenberger was a salesman, not a store owner. Daytime sightings near Ohio River and the TNT plant. Cows getting killed during this time. 10 miles away on the Ohio side, there's a guy walking a dog along the river. Charles Hearn. Is that right? Sees glowing red lights, calls to his wife. They both watch in awe. Crew of invisible men are making their way in and out of the aircraft. Okay, so that's not Mothman. That's something else. And he says he felt like we were intruding on them as they did blue collar tasks, which I found kind of funny. Like they're just trying to do their little, grunt work, and you almost feel like you're spying, being nosy as they go about their business. Their mundane blue collar work. Timmy the Genius says, think about how we would act in a similar situation on a planet we were exploring. Yes, put yourself in their cigar-shaped capsules or whatever. Okay. Mary Hire built up trust in the community. People called her about doors in houses unlocking and opening on their own, strange lights over their barn or their house, people dressed strangely, following them around or talking to weirdos, whatever. Static electricity, TVs, radios, clicks and wheezes on their telephones, lights going on and off, hearing noises outside the house, strange beeping in the phones, hearing electronic voices carrying on conversations in their backyards or above their house. Mary herself had calls of people talking to her about things that hadn't happened yet. So this is just like again, there's hundreds of reportings of strange whatever issues, situations, incidents going on. And that's just the gist of it, I guess. People making connections between UFOs and Mothman and other weird stuff. These were not the type of people that would lie. That's another thing that came up. It was like these were intelligent, like well-respected, not your town drunk kind of deal, like the red eyes. Think about our night vision. Green. Night vision goggles. Hold on. I want to go back to this for a minute. Where is it? I was watching it somewhere. I just kind of wanted to go back to the guy's interview, even though it's kind of quiet. Just going to take a break for a minute here and let this play a little bit longer. So we're going back to the Ingrid Cold incident with Woodrow Derenberger.
Asked you.
It did.
Immediately behind this car, of what distance?
I would say between 25 and 30 feet. It was very close to the other car.
It came this object.
Yes.
Hovering how far off the ground, would you say?
Well, when I first seen it, I seen it out of the corner of my eye, and I first thought it was just another car, and then I knew it wasn't a car almost immediately. And
Communication disruption because their electronic devices interfere with our devices.
It was approximately 30 to 35 feet long, and it came directly across past my truck. And
Timmy the Genius is going to craft himself a Mothman suit and fight crime. Mothman actually, initially people were calling it like a Birdman or whatever, because that's kind of more really what it looks like to them. But muscly legs. Anyway, Mothman was the name of a Batman character, I think. Comic book? I don't know if they're talking about the TV show or the comic book, but anyway, came from that.
It completely blocked me. I went partly off of the road onto the berm to try to go around it, but I couldn't get around it.
Now, let me ask you something. Then when it came in front of your car, may I have Mr. Derenberger was kind enough to draw us a sketch of what this object appeared to him, and we'll let you see it here. I'm correct then that the object came alongside of your car, veered in front of your car, and
wait, so he drew it?
Your truck, and as you
hold on. Woodrow Derenberger's drawing. See, they always draw him on the driver's side card, but it was not the driver's side. He said that he must have known that how our traffic crap worked and that he should go on the other side of the car so he doesn't get hit by a car. So he may have been showing concern for his own well-being, I guess. This is a statue of Mothman that they have in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. I don't know who these people are, but it's kind of funny. They've got a museum there now and everything too. I wanted to see his drawing. Is this it? This one's got it on the right side. Literally the correct right side. Huh. Oh yeah, he's driving a van. Okay, okay.
Slowed your truck down, the object slowed down, and then when it landed, it didn't land, it stayed off the ground.
Yes, it was
Hovered,
approximately
remained
8 to 10
hovering.
inches off of the ground. And as soon as it came to a stop immediately, there was a door on the side facing me open, and this man stepped out. And he started walking immediately right to the right-hand side of my truck.
Now, that would be then the picture we have on our screen right now. That would be the angle. Your truck would be going.
Oh, I should mention, it's been told that it did make noises, a screeching, a loud screech. It was described as like a mouse, like a giant mouse, but I don't know. I was confused by that because that's more of a squeaking. So a squeaking screech.
Going right at that. Is that the idea?
That's
Pointed
right.
Now, where would the door be in that particular object there?
It would be right where the large part of the drawing starts.
Where the hump is? Oh,
Yes,
in
right
the
where the
front of the
hump.
hump.
I think Derenberger wrote a book called Visitors from Lanulos because he continued supposedly getting visits from Ingrid Cold, and others.
Would it be in this direction here?
I believe he later stated that he actually boarded the ship at one point. There was like this hill that he would go to meet with and talk to Ingrid Cold. And supposedly he really was missing, according to his family, for a certain period of time. I think it was like 6 months. It's probably in my notes.
Back toward the right. No, that's too far, Mr. Wilson. Back up front farther.
About here?
Right there.
I don't know yet.
Approximately right there. And the door, it resembled just an ordinary automobile door when it opened.
All right. Now this, it didn't open from a bottom hinge or a
Shit.
top hinge.
You know what? What am I doing? I need to get on with it. Okay, Men in Black, right? Strange men in black, walking around, black hats, black sunglasses. They stuck out. They would wear 3-piece suits, usually entirely black. Small town, so they stand out. Strangers stand out. Soon visited by strange men after UFO or Mothman sightings. Told them to say nothing else of the Mothman, and then they'd disappear. Calls coming in about the mysterious men in black. Mary Hire in her office at the county courthouse one night. Okay, so this is when one of them supposedly came to her. There's a short, unusual-eyed man, thick glasses, long jet black hair, but they say long back then for like, I don't know, pretty short hair still. Cut squarely on his head. He spoke in a peculiar manner, asked for directions to Welch, West Virginia, and as he's questioning her, he was like creeping closer to her and making really like firm eye contact with her, and he was creeping her out as he was speaking, like sidling up to her, creeping closer to her as she's sitting at her desk. And she feels uncomfortable and a bit threatened, calls to her coworker, I also heard manager. Weirdo grabs the pen from her desk, admires it as if he's never seen anything like it before, and runs from the office hysterically laughing. This is her story of her Men in Black visitor. Timmy the Genius is trying to talk to us, but we could not understand their communication method. Perhaps. Yeah, because they just did speak oddly. Contacting contactees, MIB, Men in Black, attempting to scare or silence them, and going after Mary Hire. Threatening and rude demeanor, interested in deterring people from sharing their stories. Show up in late model cars from the 40s and 50s, yet the cars appear brand new. That is weird and reminds me of Stephen King stories that have something like that in some of them. What does he call them? calls them the something men. I forget, but it reminds me of that. It's in like Hearts in Atlantis and a couple others. They finally figured out how to blend in MIB and tried to cover up initial contact. Maybe. I need to get more into the Men in Black thing because, like, I didn't even know. Trying to force some witnesses into their cars. Some act very strangely. They don't know how to use a ballpoint pen or kitchen utensils. Poor grasp of the English language. Don't understand Jello. Okay, this is where I talked about Ingrid Cold. 50 miles north of Point Pleasant. Woodrow has contact with a higher being. Hears voices. Meets extraterrestrial being in person named Ingrid Cold. Woodrow has a commonplace Appalachian. Oh, he was a commonplace Appalachian. Worked as a sewing machine salesman or in various plants in the area. He's a deacon at his church. He's on Route 77, Interstate 77. It's where his encounter happens. 14 days before Mothman. There it is. So a flying craft flies past his truck and blocks the road ahead. Being exits and walks up to his window. Spacecraft is hovering 12 inches off the street. Guy appeared 45-ish in age. Ingrid Cold. Olive complexion. Looks like any ordinary man off the street. Dark brown hair, long dark trench coat. Spoke to Woody telepathically. His mouth doesn't move as there is a fixed smile on his face. Roll down your window. I want to talk to you. Courteous and friendly. And then I had the interview. In the interview, he says, man approached right-hand side of his truck. Cold asks if he works for a living, if he had to work to live. So he asks if he works, and he asks if he has to work to live. Says where he lives, they call gatherings. Like cities, I guess. Gatherings. Okay. Back to the movie. So he did, in fact, see him again. Got on his ship and went to his planet, Lanulos. Wife and children confirm. Derenberger disappeared for 6 months. There it is. Several people who saw him on the road talking to that guy and saw the same lights emanating from the sky that night. He told the police what happened. Messages come suddenly. Oh, so he started receiving telepathic messages in his head. They would come suddenly and leave piercing headaches. There were threatening phone calls, odd beeps, and electronic hums or silence. Family changes phone number to unlisted, and the calls continue. Bogle Ridge, that's where he'd go to meet with Cold. He went to see a psychiatrist. This is a weird part. He gets a clean bill of health, so he's like not crazy, according to the psychiatrist, but then that psychiatrist claims to have been contacted in December by Ingrid Cold himself, telepathically. I should have gotten that guy's name because that's weird. Derenberger is harassed by phone, wrote a book called Visitors from Lanulos. Yeah, people started camping outside his house, hoping to spot Men in Black or whatever weird stuff. You are so describing a species adjusting to Earth. Yeah, I'm sure their social skills lacked due to newness. I mean, you must be doing voice to text. So, yeah. Silver Bridge. It's 2,235 feet in length. 2,235 feet in length. Constructed by the General Corporation and the American Bridge Company. Aluminum, but known as Silver Bridge because of the shiny metallic appearance. I-bar suspension. It was new technology when it was built. Silver Bridge had 148 I-bars. I don't think we use these with bridges anymore. It was a suspension bridge. Only 3 bridges built like that with the I-bars. Like ever. It would kind of sway. I heard one person talking about walking across it and like sort of having to hold on. And yeah, I guess because it's a suspension bridge. December 16th, 1967. So it's a cold, damp, chilly evening. Holiday shoppers are, there was one of the towns, I don't know if it was Ohio or the other one. Maybe it's Ohio. Like they would go across the bridge to go shopping because there was like not a sales tax or something. And yeah, again, so it's December 16th. It's coming up on Christmas. Okay, Mary Hyre claims that she had a dream that was like prophetic, where she saw Christmas presents floating in water, which people saw after the bridge collapsed. So unusually busy on this night. It's a week before Christmas. Shoppers traveling between Gallipolis and Point Pleasant, getting off work, buy food to save on sales tax. No. West Virginia to Ohio was bumper to bumper, both lanes. Light had gone out that controlled traffic onto the bridge. Collapse began on the Ohio side and moved to the West Virginia side. Took 2 to 3 minutes for the entire bridge to collapse into the river. The bridge tipped to one side and then just rolled over, I think, on the other side. Is that right? Pin in the I-bar broke. The I-bar before the Ohio Tower. Christmas presents in the river. Undertow came up and took everyone out of sight. The bridge collapsed on top of the cars, so they get tipped off the bridge when it sways way over sideways, and then the bridge collapses on top of the people who fell in the water and their cars. It's arrogant for us Earthlings to think that we're alone in the universe. This is totally a story of someone coming to visit. Yeah, I mean, the odds of us being alone, it seems like it's gotta, yeah. Just the odds with everything out there, it seems unlikely that we're alone. It would be cool if we could make contact, but yeah. I don't know. It's a big world out there. "31 of the 37 cars on the bridge went into the river. 46 people killed, 9 severely injured. It was a 2.5-mile town, so there's only 5,000 people in the town. So it had a big impact on the town, this incident." Timmy says they even went so far as to take someone back to their planet, show them around, and then continue to make contact with them for updates. Yeah, it's pretty considerate. I mean, he did say that he was very polite and friendly. So kids lost their parents, a lot of funerals, co-workers, people in your church, kids themselves also died. Empty desks at school. Sad. Dark, murky river, headlights disappeared quick as they sunk. There's a 12-year-old girl and an adult woman who were never recovered. So those are the only 2 bodies they weren't able to find. I put their names down somewhere. I don't know. Hold on. What were those names? I know I pulled it up, so I may as well. I have too many things open. Damn it. Dang it. Maxine Turner. Maxine Turner was a woman from Point Pleasant, West Virginia, who died in the Silver Bridge collapse. Her body was never recovered. Her husband, Victor William Vic Turner, also died in the incident. Sad. And I don't know what the 12-year-old girl's name was, but this story, this is my note. This story goes from scary and creepy to laughably weird to suddenly very sad. I am doing voice to text, but sometimes I'm trying to hurry. It's fine. It'll like sound like the word, but it's just spelled different. It's funny. The bridge had been up for 40 years at that point. Engineers decided 1/8 of an inch of rust inside one of the I-bars caused it. The bridge was inspected and all, but it couldn't have been noticed. The weight of vehicles went from like 1,200 pounds to 4,500 pounds by 1967. Yeah. So it was like the Model T that people started out driving. Cars were a lot heavier at this point over time than they were, I guess, when the bridge was first built. It had way too much weight on it. Spurned a change in the guidelines for upkeep throughout the country. Many were quickly shut down and inspected. LBJ was president. He issued something. Nice notes, Heidi. This wiped out talk of the Mothman and this other paranormal stuff for years. And then I went, yeah, suddenly a very tragic, jarring, traumatic, trauma-causing, sad event. I can see how Mothman wasn't what's on your mind so much after that. I don't know what I should say about that. There are conspiracy angles where people are saying, some people claim that there was a sonic boom sound or an explosion under the bridge. People said they saw Mothman on the bridge and men in black inspecting the bridge, climbing around. Here's a random note. There's someone who had a weird experience with one of the weird women, one of the WIBs, I guess we would say. Here's a theory. The bodies that were never recovered are still living on the other planet. They want to study and breed them. Well, if they're not dead, I guess. Well, one of them was only 12, so hopefully not, hopefully not breed the 12. I don't know. I think they died. There was an undertow, like I mentioned, so it like swept them away probably. Oh, this weird woman that this lady said she met said to her, "Could I have some salt? I must take a pill." Just my random notes. Okay, so supposedly there are sightings in South Dakota in July 2001 and also 2017 Chicago sightings. So there's this video here I'm going to share a little bit of that I found on BitChute that was kind of good. Wait, I think.
Hello, this is the Dazzling One, and this week's discussion is on winged humanoid sightings in the Chicago area in 2017. And what's interesting about this is that back on the 3rd of May of this year, I uploaded a video titled Urban Legends Winged Humanoid Sightings. And little did I know that this was going on in the Chicago area. This story was published in the Chicago Tribune on July 29th of 2017, and I'll leave a link in the description box if you want to read it in full. I'll start into the story. You decide for yourself what you think. Some say it looks like a large bat or owl. Others say it resembles a man in a winged suit. Some say it's silent, but others describe sounds like brakes screeching. Some people who claim to have seen the creature in Chicago recently reported it had glowing red eyes, and they felt a sense of dread when they saw it. I believe the witnesses are seeing something paranormal, researcher Lon Strickler of Pennsylvania told me by phone on Friday, because the descriptions don't compare exactly.
So this is
I think
Chicago
there could be at least
2017.
2 or 3 different beings. The more than 20 reports since April of a winged humanoid spotted in Chicago are drawing comparisons to the Mothman legend. Journalist and UFO researcher John Keel wrote the 1975 book The Mothman Prophecies, which was made into a 2002 movie starring Richard Gere and Laura Linney. The book and movie were based on events that occurred in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. Numerous people reported seeing a red-eyed Mothman creature in the months before the Silver Bridge carrying U.S. Highway 35 over the Ohio River collapsed on December 15, 1967, killing 46 people. Like the town of Roswell, New Mexico, which holds an annual festival commemorating a 1947 UFO incident, Point Pleasant celebrates its local legend each September by hosting a Mothman festival. Strickler, who chronicles reports of ghost, UFO sightings, and other paranormal activity on his Phantoms and Monsters website, told me the...
Hold on. Sorry, random, but there's a guy named Culver. Damn it. What's his name? Too many links open. Too many links open. I did not mean to click on that. Andrew Colvin. This guy was one of the kids that said he saw Mothman. He writes books. He's written all these books, apparently. One about Tesla, written by Gray Barker and Nikola Tesla. What? Edited by Andrew Colvin. Weird. Okay. What is this? Visitors. This says it's written by Woody Derenberger. So these are not. Okay, this is his book, Mothman Squeaks. Okay, anyway, he claims that he did something with 9/11. He said that he thinks Mothman, I can't remember what it was, if it was like he had a dream about 9/11 or something. Somehow after being a witness of Mothman as a kid, he claims that, I can't remember what the thing is exactly. Something to do with 9/11. Okay, sorry. Let's just go back to, God. I don't know where I was. There's too many. Damn it. Where the hell was it? It's right there. Nope. Okay, here it is. Anyway, Andrew Colvin said that he was warned of 9/11 or something, I think, by Moth. I don't know.
Recent alleged accounts of a creature spotted in Chicago represent the largest cluster of possible Mothman sightings in the 50 years since the Point Pleasant tragedy. I cannot find any other groupings like this, Strickler said. Strickler had chronicled 21 alleged Mothman sightings in Chicago this year. The earliest was on April 7th in Oz Park. Strickler said it was reported to a colleague, Manuel Navarrete, at UFO Clearinghouse. A woman walking her dog claimed she encountered a creature standing in the park. I saw a large man, probably 7 feet or taller, standing on the ground. According to the account published by Strickler, it was a solid black, but what really stood out, and I do mean large pair of wings that were folded behind him. The account said the creature looked at the woman before spreading its wings and flying off. I felt like this thing could see right through me, read me, and knew what I was thinking, like it could stare right into my very soul. It was the most terrified I have ever been in my life. Most of the alleged sightings have occurred at night, near water. A man fishing with his son along.
Did anything tragic happen in Chicago after these sightings? 2017? What is this, April? I don't know.
The Little Calumet River and Heswick Park reported seeing a man-sized black bird around 7:30 p.m., April 30th. Another man walking with his 6-year-old son in Calumet Park around 8 p.m., May 5th, reported a similar encounter. A man said he was with a group near Adler Planetarium on June 20th.
Do I believe in ESP? Yes, to an extent. It's been well documented and studied. There's a book called The ESP Enigma that is scientific, goes into all of that. There's some crazy, true scientific research on that.
23rd, when they saw something that looked like a large bat. The most recent alleged sighting occurred Monday during daylight at about 5 p.m. at Willis Tower. A witness smoking a cigarette on the sidewalk outside a tavern reported looking up and seeing a human-like figure with large wings perched near the top of the building. As he watched, the being leaped off the building, stretched out the wings, dipped, and swooped upwards. It gained altitude as it flapped its wings and headed off in a northern direction. Strickler wrote. I asked Strickler
That's the first time
about
I've
the
heard it
credibility
say.
of reports. If one accepts the reports as authentic, could people be seeing a large owl, a man in a winged suit, or a drone decorated to look like a monster? We've looked into everything, he said. People say it moves its head and its legs. It acts like it's living. If it was a suit, it would need some kind of jetpack. It's got some propulsion to it. It flaps its wings and accelerates. One of the more convincing accounts is alleged to have occurred at about 11:15 p.m. June 29th at 81st and Throop Streets in the Auburn Gresham neighborhood. Strickler published an account allegedly received by Navarrete from a man claiming to be a Chicago police officer on routine patrol with his partner. We were flagged down by a group of people who were pointing up to the top of an apartment building that was on the corner, Strickler wrote, relating the alleged account. The man claiming to be an officer reported seeing a large creature with wings on top of the building. They shone flashlights on it.
So a man claiming to be an officer is is saying he was actually a witness.
And it flew away. People crowded around said they had seen the creature flying over the neighborhood the previous 2 nights. We initially were doubtful about filing a report because we thought we would be made fun of for seeing little green men. We finally filed a report, as we did, not one to violate protocol. Strickler wrote of the alleged sighting. I checked with the Chicago Police Department to see if any reports were filed about the alleged Auburn Gresham incident or any other recent Mothman sightings. Our database did not reveal any reports or any incidents regarding the aforementioned, a spokesman said. Strickler believes Mothman is a being from another dimension. I have long theorized that the Mothman and other unknown winged beings are multidimensional life forms that can be summoned by high-energy, incorporeal entities that reside on our Earth's plane, he wrote. I stopped reading there, but there's one final paragraph where the author gives their opinion on the matter. What's interesting about it is, following the original Mothman sightings in Point Pleasant, there was the collapse of the Silver Bridge. If you think these Mothman sightings are authentic, do you think this is an omen to the Chicago area or to the country at large? 2017 has been a strange time.
Read my earlier post, please. Just checking. I've read about similar studies. Where is it? I'm just being creative in my thinking and trying to be interested. Interesting. No tinfoil hat here. Sure.
I wouldn't quite say compared to last year's 2016 killer clown sightings. However, the fact that this is the most Mothman sightings in the past 50 years since the original sightings is quite alarming and interesting. So what do you think? Do you think these people are just seeing a large owl or some other explainable object or animal, or they're making this up out of thin air? Or do you think that these are real winged humanoid sightings coming from another dimension? Let me know what you think.
Very interesting, very interesting. So that's Chicago, 2017. Was there a tragedy after that? I would have to have checked that ahead of time, which I did not. But I don't know. I guess there's a tragedy in Chicago every weekend. Shouldn't laugh. Thanks for the doubtful response. Well, you know, I kid. I joke, I kid. I want to see more drawings of Mothman. Oh my god, I cannot type. To see more more ideas about how it might look, I guess. Just look at images. So here's the statue they got. Hello, Archie! I called him and he came. He was just a little slow. Baby boy. Baby boy, baby boy. So yeah, this sometimes they describe the eyes as almost like coming out of its torso, like one person thought it almost looked headless at first. This is, yeah, I don't know. That's probably a doctored photo of the Silver Bridge. What is that? Mothman caught on video, eh? Where's the video? Let's see it. What is this music? Whoa. I'm gonna mute that. That was an interesting movement. Mothman? That doesn't look very big right there. That looked more bird-like. Is that all for my notes? Yeah, I guess so. Well, shoot. See, I don't really know where to go with it all. I'm back at the Wikipedia page. So I'm just going to read it. Okay, so it talks about the two couples who said they saw him, and then during the next few days, other people reported similar sightings. 2 volunteer firemen who saw it said it was a large bird with red eyes. Mason County Sheriff George Johnson commented that he believed the sightings were due to an unusually large heron he termed a shite poke. Contractor Newell Partridge. I feel like I said the name different. It was saying Merle Partridge, whatever. So that's another weird thing is sometimes the names are just like, I don't know. Told Johnson that when he aimed a flashlight at the creature in a nearby field, its eyes glowed like bicycle reflectors. Hold on. Okay, so he did claim to see a creature in his field, the guy whose dog was taken. It's a bat! I've heard people describe it in a batty kind of way, like the way it describes the texture of the skin leading into the legs and like the texture of the wing skin. Okay, so back to I'll just say his last name since his first name changes. Partridge, the dog guy. He blamed buzzing noises from his television set and the disappearance of his German shepherd dog on the creature. Wildlife biologist Robert L. Smith told reporters at West Virginia University that descriptions and sightings all fit the sandhill crane. A large American crane almost as high as a man with a 7-foot wingspan, but they said 10 foot. Featuring circles of reddish coloring around the eyes, the bird may have wandered out of its migration route and therefore was unrecognized at first because it was not native to this region. Hold on. So, you know how Fallout 76 takes place in West Virginia? There's like a whole Mothman thing. I want to show it. I don't know if I'll get in trouble. Am I allowed to show from my game? I love Fallout 76.
1966, in the town of Clendenin, West Virginia. 5 men were digging a grave in a cemetery when they saw movement from a nearby tree. They stopped what they were doing and inspected the tree when suddenly a brown figure leapt from the tree and flew right at them. It flew low to the ground, swooped over their heads, and off into the distance. They later described this being as a man-sized brown winged creature, and they were very insistent that it was no bird.
Whatever, get to
it
the
had
get
2
to it.
legs. Creature continued to stalk them. Excitement in Point
Oh, there it
Pleasant
is.
turned to fear. If
So
they
that's what
saw
it looks like in the
Mothman,
game.
would the men in black arrive at their home too? Fear for
It
their
goes-
neighbors and homes caused some people to react harshly towards others who had a more cavalier attitude
I tried
towards
to
the
get a little
Mothman,
picture with
talking
it,
about him
and
at the
that was fine.
diner, going out at night for Mothman hunts.
I think I did that.
The Mothman became a subject of controversy in the town, but this frenzy about the Mothman came to a sudden and tragic end.
This is the worst I've seen.
This
What is
interest
this?
in the
This is
Mothman,
weird.
Mothman from the Fallout.
The skies a little.
That ties in with the story of the Mothman from our own universe. Remember, the bombs dropped in 2077 in the Fallout universe. So if Mothman first appeared in Point Pleasant in 1967, as he did in our universe, everybody listening to it knew that it was a bird of the Mothman. We don't find men digging graves in the middle of the night. We don't find 2 couples exploring the nearby ordnance works. We know that the Mothman story of the Fallout universe
West
does share
Virginia.
some connection with the one in ours. He emerged at about the same time in history as the one in our universe.
He needs to
And
take
as a
some
harbinger
disease
of
cure. He's
doom,
got
he does have a connection to the Silver Bridge collapse of 1967. But here's where the connection gets really interesting. Remember, the names of the
That is
couples
more
who
Mothman.
saw the Mothman at the TNT area in our universe were Roger and Linda Scarberry and Steve and Mary Millette. In Stephen Patterson's story in the Fallout universe, 2 of the 3 children on the train were Steve and Mary.
Oh,
And what were the names of Mary's parents in the story?
Mr. and Mrs. Scarberry.
Mr. and Mrs. Scar.
anyway, that's just kind of fun. Okay, so yeah, I don't really know where to go with this. Due to the popularity of the Batman TV series, fictional superhero Batman and his rogues gallery, blah, 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 killer mob. Okay, according to Georgian newspaper, I can't say that, Russian ufologists claim that Mothman sightings in Moscow foreshadowed the 1999 Russian apartment bombings. In 2016, WCHS-TV published a photo purported to be of Mothman taken by an anonymous man while driving on Route 2 in Mason County. Science writer Sharon A. Hill proposed that the photo showed a bird, perhaps an owl, carrying a frog or snake away, and wrote that there is zero reason to suspect it is the Mothman as described in legend. There are too many far more reasonable explanations. Hold on. So you're saying it's carrying something in its feet and that's what's going on? It's a bird carrying a snake. Okay, so she's saying that this is some creature that it's supposed to be carrying, I guess. Looks like legs to me, but I don't know. I don't really know where to go from here. This is Andrew Colvin's newsletter. He has very kindly allowed me to repost it here. I don't know. Who's this? Scarberry and Mallet's Mothman sighting. Oh, this is what it says under the sculpture. The Mothman statue that they've got. One of the greatest mysteries of all time. Linda Scarberry, eyewitness. Monster, no joke to those who saw. Interesting. I feel like stories, I just don't know if I believe it. I know it's no fun. It's hard to believe stuff. What is this? By Mary Heyer. So this is an article from July 2nd, 1967. Last Saturday night, I was invited by John A. Kill, a well-known writer, to appear with him on the Long John Nebel radio show on NBC, which has an endless parade of saucer personalities. A strange woman also appeared on the show who claimed she was Miss Venus from the planet Venus. Okay. Others on the show who questioned Miss Venus for over 4 hours were sports broadcaster Mel Allen, the popular radio. Who cares? This is about something else. Flatwoods Green Monster. Different monster. Audra Harper detailing her experience near Heaters, West Virginia that parallels the similar Flatwoods monster story. So yeah, there's like another whole other monster thing. I don't know. It is interesting that, I mean, is it possible that the bridge was blown up on purpose to silence the town talking about these mysterious visitors? That's probably pretty far-fetched. Since you named your channel after Hedy Lamarr, have you ever thought about doing a video on her, or have you already? We talked about her a little bit at one point, but we didn't do like a full-fledged episode on her. We just sort of chatted about her. She's cool though. Oh yeah, this is the mom housewife lady who I think she was with kids and saw this Flatwoods monster. I don't know. This is kind of going into other things. Wait, what is that? The boys are back in town. Oh, that was John Keel, I think. As always, I don't really know how to end it. So they have fun with it. They're proud of their little weird story, although, you know, they didn't really get to cheering up about stuff until a long time later after the bridge collapsed. Definitely affected the town. No more fun. No more excitement. Oh God, what have I done? Just X out. What is this? This was about John Keel. He's got some crazy stories. He was more into the whole UFO thing, but it kind of merged into the world of cryptids. Cryptids? There's plenty of stuff to read about the topics, like, surrounding all this. What the hell am I looking at here? I guess I'm done. Sorry, I don't know how to end it. Thanks, Heidi. Hope Fallon gets well soon. Yeah, me too. Good night. Good night, everyone. Yeah, I should go ahead and end this. Oh my God, it's almost 2 hours long. What the hell am I doing? Okay. That was Mothman. I don't really know what to say about it. There were these nerds talking on the documentary I watched. They're funny. Look at his shirt. Mothman. Mothman.
Investigators Tim and John Frick feel there's credibility to the mutated bird theory.
Mutated bird? Here it is. Mary Hyre dies at 54. She was kind of young. It says she died after a long illness. I guess I'll just go ahead and X out, because that's it. There's not really much. Meow meow. It's creepy. Might be a warning of impending tragedy. I'm really still just really confused about the whole Ingrid Cold thing. Supposedly, the people camping outside his house claim at one point they saw him talking to the guy in a suit, but he just looked like a normal guy. They were sort of like harassed and followed and annoyed. This is the list of people who died in the Silver Bridge collapse. Scary. And these are the, Kathy Bias, BYUS. These are the two that were never recovered. Okay. That's the end. Burns your skin, supposedly, and your eyes. People sure do get excited about this weird stuff.
Hinge it open from the side hinge.
It opened from
door
the.
that we know opens.
Yes, it opened from the side.
Maybe I'll just go ahead and finish out the hour.
How was this gentleman? How
Make
was
it
this
2 hours.
person dressed?
Crap.
What
Well,
type of clothing did he wear?
He had a top coat on, and it was zippered down the front. His top, the top two buttons, like my coat here, were open, and this outfit was a shiny material. It was a glossy outfit, like it was metallic, I suppose you would call it. And his shirt was a little bit darker than his jacket. And below his coat, he had on trousers of the same kind of a cloth material. And I believe the trousers were just a shade lighter than his coat.
Which would have been a navy blue. The coat would have been a dark blue.
Yes.
Coat. What about the texture of his skin, the color of his skin, his eyes, eyebrows, eyelashes, hairline? What were these? What did he look like?
He looked perfectly natural and normal as any human being. He had his face looked like he had a good tan, a deep suntan. He was not too dark, but it was just like he had been out in the sun a lot and had a good tan. His hair was combed straight back, and it was a dark brown. And he seemed to have a good thick head of hair. And his eyebrows, his face, his features were very normal. I don't believe that he looked any different from any other man that we'd meet on the street.
Now, this ship that he stepped out of, when he left the ship and started toward your truck, toward your van, the ship remained there as he walked toward you? Or?
No, immediately that he stepped out of the truck, or out of his vehicle, the door closed and the vehicle lifted straight up. It went straight, just as straight as you could point at it.
Straight up.
And it went up, and
kind of like
did see
Mothman.
it, and occasionally as I was talking to this man, I looked up and it was still there. It was
What is this?
Approximately 50 to 75 feet.
Petition launched to replace
stayed there all
every
the
Confederate
time
statue with
man was talking
Mothman.
to me.
Now, when he
kinda funny.
when he talked to you, did he turn his head
That's
away
silly.
as I'm turning my head away now, or did he stare right at you, or did what was his movement?
He watched me when he was talking to me. He looked at me directly in the face. But as there were several cars and several big trucks passed, and as these big trucks would pass, he would turn his head and glance at the trucks.
But there was no. Did you look at the object in the air while he was talking with you? Did you glance up at
Yes, in fact, I leaned forward and looked kind of out of my windshield, and I could see it. It was still.
So then this communication that he had with you would not necessarily depend upon him looking you in the eye or anything like that, then evidently.
No, he did not. In fact, when he first got out of the.
At one point, they had to replace like the entire topsoil of that whole area because it was contaminated. Just by the way, by the igloos, the TNT chemical things.
Vehicle, when he told me to roll the window down, it was impossible for him to see my eyes because I was behind my own headlights, and he could not have done it.
How old would you say he was?
He looked to be approximately 35, 40 years old. He was very nice looking man. He was neat. And
what specifically did he say to you? What did he say? Hi, it's a nice evening, or what? I mean, why did he stop you? What was his?
When he asked me to roll the window down, which I did, I rolled the window down, and he told me, he said, I would like to talk to you. And I just couldn't answer him. I just couldn't speak. And at that is the first time he told me not to be frightened. He said he wished me no harm, and he talked a little bit in this vein, and he asked me why. He said, why are you frightened of us? He said, we are the same as you. He said, we eat, we breathe, we sleep, we bleed, even as you do. He said, we are like you. And he said, please be not frightened.
Did he say where he was from?
He did not say where he was from, but when he asked me what Parkersburg was, and I told him, he said,
what are your two favorite topics?
Where I live, my home, he said, we call it a gathering.
Did he
Just
say
anything
about
that
his
is
volunteer? Did he have a family?
What most
did he
people
ask you
don't
what you did
really
for a
like
living?
to
Where
talk
you
about.
worked?
He asked
Things
me-
that you don't talk
he
about
asked me
at
if
family
I
gatherings or at
worked
work. That kind
for a
of. I don't
living.
know.
He asked me if I
wanna talk
had
about all
to
the
work to
big
live. And I explained
controversial
to him what I
things.
was. He even asked me where I lived, and I told him. And I told him that I was a salesman. And he told me
I guess
that
this
he was
isn't
a
very
searcher.
controversial. Oh, he said he's a searcher.
A searcher.
But he didn't tell you what he was searching for.
No, he didn't. He didn't offer me no information other than this, but at 2 or 3 times he did tell me, he said, Mr. Dernberger, look at me. He said, do not be frightened.
He
Look
wanted
at
him
me.
to look at him.
And I believe if I hadn't have been frightened, I believe that if I had have looked to him, I believe that I could have understood a lot more of what he wanted me to than what I actually did.
You just have this feeling, you mean? But
I have that feeling. I was very nervous. I was very upset after this happened.
He was crossing his
After
arms.
I got
So that's
home,
why
and
they're
after I had calmed down, I can look back now and I see where I should have asked him questions, and I believe I have the impression that he would have answered these questions readily.
you believe in flying saucers?
I have never have believed in flying saucers before. I have heard about them a few times. I've even read in the paper about flying objects, but I honestly never did believe in it.
Do you believe in them now?
I believe in what I seen last night. I believe it was, I don't believe it was a saucer, but I believe it was an alien,
okay.
some kind of an aircraft or spacecraft or something.
Mr. Dernberger, we have a program on radio called The Joe Pine Show. And Mr. Pine interviews extraordinary people in various
Okay.
that are
It's been
involved
2
in
hours.
various,
Damn it.
occupations and some.
I just don't really feel much closure
He said that,
sometimes with these
he
topics. I'm like, okay, well, nobody knows what really happened.
And
Good
we would be making
night.
a left-hand curve, and his lights would be shining off to the right. But I still think that he could have seen and probably did see whatever this object was.
Glenn, I've been monopolizing here. You sneak in with the.
That he told me not to be frightened. He was very reassuring in his attitude. He was friendly. He smiled
We do.
continuously while I talked to him.
My little
Kept his
sister
arms
did
folded
Mothman.
something like
and-
this all the time.
His
why I did
arms were
Mothman.
folded completely at all times. Like I said, his hands were hidden. And at the time I talked
Yeah, you can
to him,
always,
I
like, if
didn't
you-
think nothing about
If you
it.
ever want a
But
topic,
after I
throw them
started
out there.
home, I did
Got a
wonder
little
why he
list of
stood
stuff.
that way. And as I believe one of you gentlemen asked me before about his hands, when this man closed the door, when he got back into the vehicle, I distinctly seen this other man's hand and arm, and his arm looked completely normal in his hand.
Now you described the.
Sewing machine salesman. I don't know. I guess I'll call it quits here. It just sucks. I don't know. It's sad. It collapsed. It was sad. The people supposedly were believable people telling these stories. John Keel tries to get, like, he was somewhat scientific about it. He would try his best not to lead people he interviewed about it, you know, not offering any other, like, details that they might be able to latch onto to try and make their story some similar and more believable. And the law of attraction. My personal thoughts on that is it's kind of BS. But yeah, I don't know. Like the person, The Secret. I remember when The Secret came out and everyone was like so obsessed with that book and loved it. And I don't know. I meet people who are like, if you just don't worry about money, it comes to you. I'm like, you do not to live in reality, ma'am. Yeah, I don't know. It just comes to you if you think about it and draw it towards you. I don't know. Oh, sorry, I'm all talking shit. Well, if that's your suggestion, we could definitely look closer into it. I mean, maybe there's something to it that's like, I don't know. Attitude definitely matters, but I'm not really big on like avoiding being negative. A lot of the girls that loved The Secret were also really big on telling me that I was too negative, and it was annoying. I was like, okay. But okay, oh my god, I gotta get out of here. I guess watch the Mothman Prophecies or read the book or watched The Eyes of the Mothman. I think there's another one called like the Mothman Legacy or something. I don't know. It's just weird. Maybe see if there were any tragedies in Chicago, any bridge collapses after 2017 or around them. Okay, sorry, this is petering out. I'm going to end it. The end. Weird story. I don't really know what to make of it. Thank you for joining me. I have to figure out how to fix my washer because it stopped draining. So everyone have a good week. Good night. Have a good one.